excited to be here. I was at Eisenhower for 20 years, so I'm really excited to be a part of this awesome team. And this is my first year doing Starbase as well, and one of the things, we all have name tags, but they're not just name tags, they're call signs, because all of the pilots receive a call sign name as like their code. And so mine was Gemini, and then the kids were also given, or could choose, call sign names, and so they had to tell why they chose the name. And so we all have our own kind of, our names that we had. And do you want to say why? So I'm Gemini, and I had lots of options. You know, they wanted to call me Mama Bird, they wanted to call me all these different ones, but Gemini is my zodiac sign. And so I said that sometimes I'm fun, sometimes I'm serious, because Geminis are twins. And so that's why I chose mine.
I'm Kelly White. This is my first year teaching 4th grade. I've taught 5th grade here many years and been to Starbase many times, and it's an amazing experience. I've had a different call sign every year. This year the kids helped me choose the name Milton, and Milton is a character in our vocabulary curriculum who's imaginary, but every day we solve problems for Milton. What would Milton do in this situation? And practice our vocab words. So we like to joke about him, so I was Milton for the week.
That's good. I'm Claire Fisher. I'm Stephanie Bell's student teacher, so this was my first time to Starbase, and my call sign was Topaz because I have November birthday, so it's my gemstone.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Bell. I'll move over a little bit. And I've been to Starbase. This is my 3rd time, so very excited since it had been 4 years. And loved the whole experience, and the amount of change that they had made in the curriculum since our current 8th graders had been there was really outstanding. So it was really fun to go back. And my call sign is Spartan. I changed it after Michigan State entered into the Final Four. I changed it. I was going to do Scorpio, and then I was like, no, I'm a Spartan. So, and yeah, I was disappointed that they didn't make it all the way, but it was really, it was fun to cheer them on. So, yeah, glad everyone's here today.
I'm Kelly Heater. I'm a long-term sub for Megan Doherty. This is my first time at Starbase as well. My name is Marvel. I know there's a new movie out, Marvel. I know there's another part to it too, but just a female superhero. Yeah, and again, thank you for coming.
I'm Kim Mock. I have been here at Meadowbrook for, this will be my 4th year, but I've been in the district for almost 25. I taught at Tangleton before I came here. And my call sign is Buffalo Girl because I actually have a herd of buffalo out in South Dakota. So we're expecting a few calves this week, actually. And I just want to say the experience at Starbase for me was really special. My father was a Navy pilot, and I remember as a little girl flying different places where we would go, but I remember dropping him off at the Minneapolis base out there. He flew Skyhawk jets, and it was just really special for me to go on to base again and be able to remember those memories from being really little.
So we're going to start by talking about, we were there for 5 days, so I have day
We're
one.
going to do the video first.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to do the video first so you can see the pictures, and then we're going to talk more detail about the days.
Yeah. We all got to take the opportunity to take pictures, and they did a video for the kids at the very end on our closing ceremony day. So this is a combination of pictures that all the teams took. There were 7 teams, so the 5 classes broke up into 7 teams.
as you can see, they had a really good time. And just looking back, it's like their faces tell it all. Their oohs and their ahs, and seeing Dr. E.B. get to launch a rocket. Very cool. Well, each day we all got to do a specific kind of activity, and so we're going to go through each day. So I have day 1, and so the first thing we did was we used STEM, of course, to prepare for space travel and exploration. And on their first day, they got to use STEM to begin planning their journey to space and beyond. In pairs, they got to explore innovative circuitry used to solve problems on a space mission. And after learning about circuits, students began to investigate how humans would travel to space in a rocket. Students used engineering design process to design their own fin prototypes. So the rockets that we have, they had a choice to do 3 fins or 2 fins, and they had to discuss why. What would 3 fins do versus 2 fins? And even what do they use in NASA? 2 fins or 3 fins, and what would happen? And then you can look at those too if you want. Starbase students then learned that weather can severely impact a rocket launch. So they did some more research about the STEM career of meteorology and what a meteorologist would be like and what they would do. Students also were introduced to meteorology by getting the chance to create a forecast for the date and time they will launch their 2 and 3 fin rockets. And then they also received on day 1 STARS flight log, and so every day inside they got to, I guess, complete all of their data throughout the whole week. So these were really interesting. So if you get a chance to look at these are really cool. And then they also had a journal. So every day they had to complete a journal, and then that was part of kind of an incentive at the end that they could earn some pins, or they could earn some different kind of badges and their lanyards. And so every day they got them, and they would borrow a pencil, and they would sit there and diligently write and get it done. And then there were also some games that they got to do. So, and then the most important part, they also incorporated 4 science standards, and then 2 math standards were covered just on the first day. You can take a look at that.
So I'm going to talk about day 2, and the focus for day 2 was designing a safe journey through space. And one of the big parts, they tied in all the different EIE STEM careers. We learned about a space astronaut named Leland, who's African American, and it was really great the way they tied in their own story and getting the kids really excited about careers that they could do in their future. We also learned about how space travel poses many challenges, and the kids had to do a test where they tested aluminum and wood and plastic, different materials to test if it's a conductor or an insulator. And they used that insight from that investigation to determine what would be a good way to make the spacesuit to keep the astronaut from being, staying safe during the dangers of space. And then they also learned about the dangers of living on Mars, and they designed a science lab through this Creo 3D CAD software that they have. And so this is an example of what the students were creating on the software system, and that is a space shuttle design, space station, thank you. And they used that and also talked about just the overall dangers and constraints that we have to think about when going to space. And then Claire's going to talk about that last part of day 2.
Yes, so going off of what Stephanie mentioned is that they had to design spacesuits that were safe for travel because the heat and temperatures fluctuate in space very rapidly. So spacesuit designs have plastic tubing inside, and it either runs cold water or warm water to regulate the body temperature of the astronaut. So the students were able to experiment with different liquids and water, and then use a thermometer to test them and determine whether the liquid would be endothermic or exothermic, and then they would be able to analyze the results and graph the differences so that they would determine what was safe for the astronaut's spacesuit. And For our day 2, a standard that we met was in physical science, which is compare materials that are conductors and insulators of heat and or electricity.
And these cards that the students earned, once they had learned about a particular STEM career and they watched a video on a person who had that, then they earned the card that they were able to keep. And that was a new part of the curriculum that the kids were really excited about, collecting those cards.
And I'll talk about day 3. Day 3 was a busy but awesome day. So on day 3, they used STEM career skills for research on Earth and Mars. So the first thing that we did, there's 5 things we did throughout the day. The first one, STEM career research. So the students experienced real-life STEM careers while working through several stations. And some of these stations included being a programmer. So the students started learning how to program a robot. Being a chemist, they examined the chromatography of markers, which was really cool because it was a black marker, and then as they let it sit, you could see that it's separated into multiple different colors. So that was really fun for the students. Another station was being an engineer. They explored magnetism. And then lastly, they got to learn more about different STEM career as well on the computers. And then if you saw, there were kids that were having goggles on. They were kind of looking all around. So that was virtual reality, so they got to experience a rocket launch. So that was really, really cool for the kids too. Then they did a rock rover collection. So the students worked in small teams to program a rover to collect samples from 4 different Mars locations. As the rocks were being collected, students used their knowledge of magnets, which they learned in the station, to detect if the samples have a magnetic field. In order to be successful at programming, they needed to understand measuring distance, interpreting line graphs, classifying and measuring angles with a protractor, along with teamwork and perseverance. So a lot of math was included in this on that day. The next one was a Mars rock analysis. So after they collected their rocks, they had to see if there was a magnetic field. Students compared the concentration of the magnetite rocks in each group's location to determine where on Mars there might be the best chance to find life or where we can send future missions or landing sites. Then we did the airplane tour. They got to explore the C-130 aircraft along with other aircrafts at the Minnesota Air National Guard Museum. And they made observations about how the design of airplanes have changed over time. And then finally they got to build their rockets. So they got to put together their rockets with their 3D fins and make those final preparations for launch, which was on day 4. So it was really a busy day. We got in 7 science standards and 5 math standards in that one day.
Good job. All right, so then on day 4 was rocket launch day, and it was rather cool that morning, but it worked out really well. The students tested their rockets and their fin prototypes to see which the 3 or the 2 fin would work better. And then after the rocket launched and landed, they went and collected the GPS coordinates of where the rocket actually landed. After rocket launch, we returned to the classroom, and they used Google Earth to locate the landing site of their rocket and used measuring tools in the program to measure the distance between the launch site and the landing location. So that was really, really neat. They got to analyze their rocket data to determine which number of fins contributed to the greatest stability and balance of their rocket. And then they continued that afternoon to work a little bit more with the CAD software and create, I believe there's pictures around the room of space stations. And they just had a ball with that. They thought that was absolutely awesome because they got to add on pieces that they would like to add on to their station, like whether it was an art room or like a place that they could go and exercise in. There were different options for them to add on to their space station. And then at the very end of that day, they worked with Mars land rovers and drove through various types of terrain. They set up on the floor incline, and then also they had rocks that they put down on the floor, and they had to figure out how to get their Land Rover to be able to drive through that type of terrain. And they saw that a lack of friction caused their, it was called a sphero, it's a round ball, their sphero to be slippery and ineffective in a rocky terrain, and they had to figure out a way to cover that and give it increased friction in order to be able to travel through the terrain of Mars. In that day, we covered 5 science standards and 2 math standards, and of course, rocket launch day was awesome.
And then on the last day, they started in the morning by doing one more experiment to find out how rockets travel. How does mass affect the flight, the distance that the rockets will travel? So we went outside again and did mini launches to see if a heavier rocket would fly farther or less far, and collect the data and analyze the data again. And then after we know now how rockets fly, they had this very important job of deciding how they were going to keep their astronauts safe when they landed on Mars. So they had to create a lander, and they were given a budget for that. And they had to go to the store. They had to decide as a team what they purchased, and then go to the store and buy the different, there were rubber bands and saran wrap, interesting things. And they had to make a plan to wrap little ping pong sized astronauts safely on the lander. And then we were able to send them down a zip line in the classroom, and they kind of crash landed. And if their little astronaut stayed safe in the lander, then it was a success. And if not, then they had to go back as a team and redesign and then try it again, so that everyone was eventually successful. And if they needed an extra challenge, they could do 2 astronauts on their lander and keep them safe. So there's a lot of constraints they worked with to practice and work as a team and make those astronauts land safely. Then they ended the day with a post-flight test. So they started with a pre-flight test and a post-flight test to show did they learn anything while they were there. And we have scores that we'll send home to families, I think, and the growth is unbelievable. They just learn so much while they're there. So, and it's a little like being at camp for the week. When we leave, it's like kind of we'll miss everybody, and we form so many new friends because the kids are all mixed around into different groups, and it's a really neat experience. So.
And Friday, on the last day, we had a closing ceremony, so they did all the photos of the week from like we did, and then they also had a person come from the base who the kids got to interview, and so that was really interesting too, and what his job is like and what his career is like. So it's really good and just really amazing for them to get to meet someone who can speak to their engineering background and their story. So the kids did a thank you. We have 2 students from each of our classes that we chose, and they wanted to say a thank you to the PTO. So we're going to end with a video, and thank you to Tim Kennedy for helping to film that and put that together just on Monday. So
Starbase is free, but the bus is expensive, and PTO paid for the bus.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, Starbase is a grant, so it is a complete grant program, and so we're very thankful that the buses were covered.
Hi, my name is Dakota Pearson, and my call sign at Starbase was Donald Duck. My favorite part about being at Starbase was launching my rocket. A STEM career that I am interested in learning more about is astronomy. At Starbase, I learned people are trying to colonize on Mars. Thanks to PTO for supporting our awesome field trip.
Hi, my name is Akira, and my call sign at Starbase was Don Matula. My favorite part about Starbase is making my rocket bottom and looking at the Mars rover they are going to send to space in 2020. A STEM career that I'm interested in learning about is being a chemist like Bridget. At Starbase, I learned about making a possibility to live on Mars. And thanks PTO for supporting our out-of-this-world Starbase field trip.
Hi, my name is Adam Zero, and my call sign at Starbase was Porter. My favorite part about being at Starbase was launching my rockets. A STEM career that I'm interested in learning more about is robotics. At Starbase, I learned perseverance means never giving up. Thanks PTO for supporting our great field trip.
Hi, my name is Zana Bonet, and my call sign at Starbase was Potato. My favorite thing about being at Starbase was being able to work with new people. A STEM career that I am interested in is learning about more is science and engineering. At Starbase, I learned teamwork. Thanks PTO for supporting our amazing and great field trip.
Hi, my name is Seth, and my call sign at Starbase was Blue Knot. My favorite part about being at Starbase was the rocket launch because it was fun to see how far my rocket went. A STEM career that I'm interested in learning more about is an astronaut because it seems a complex and interesting career to learn about. At Starbase, I learned how to find the medium of data. Thanks PTO for supporting our awesome field trip.
Hi, my name is Charlotte, and my call sign at Starbase was Savvy Girl. My favorite part about being at Starbase was launching rockets and creating things on Creo. A STEM career that I'm interested in learning more about is aerospace engineering to help launch rovers into Mars. At Starbase, I learned how to program a rover. Thanks PTO for supporting our amazing field trip.
Hi, my name is Eli, and my call sign at Starbase was Closer. My favorite part about being at Starbase was 3D printing rocket fins. A STEM career that I'm interested in learning more about is a pilot. At Starbase, I learned that 3-fin rockets are better than 2-fin rockets. Thanks PTO for supporting our amazing field trip.
Hi, my name is Winter, and my call sign at Starbase was Goldilocks. My favorite part of being at Starbase was learning about all the STEM careers I could do in the future. A STEM career that I'm interested in learning more about is a chemist because my aunt is a chemist and she gets to create new things and use her creativity, and that job seems really interesting to me. At Starbase, I learned a lot of perseverance and teamwork. Thanks PTO for supporting our spectacular field trip.
Hi, my name is Lucas, and my call sign at Starbase was Dark Link. My favorite part about Starbase was doing math pretty much the whole time. A STEM career I'm interested in learning more about is an electrical engineer. It sounds very interesting and I think I might like it. At Starbase, I learned probably at least one thing in every part of STEM. Thanks PTO for supporting our incredible field trip.
Hi, my name is Nadia, and my call sign at Starbase was Willow. My favorite part about being at Starbase was when we did rocket launch and Spiro because it was really fun and interesting. The STEM career that I'm interested in learning more about is chemistry because I like creating new products. At Starbase, I learned a lot about technology and rocket science. Thanks PTO for supporting our fantastic field trip.